So going to have a quick rundown of the differences, the strengths, the drawbacks of the individual vests, what you would use them for, what you wouldn't use them for, which one's better for which purpose, basically. We've got the tactical vest and the incremental weighted vest. Obviously you can see from here the incremental weighted vest is slightly shorter. So if you're sort of under 5'5", you're not going to have the issue that you might have with the tactical vest, where if you're doing squats, anything like that, where you're too dynamic, you're moving up and down, the plate is hitting your thighs essentially if it's sitting too low on your torso. Having the shorter vest is going to mitigate that slightly. With the incremental vest, it's loaded up with these bricks. It goes up to 20 kgs, which is heavier than the tactical vest. So if you're looking for a vest for calisthenics, for rope climbing, even for running, where you're going to want to load it up heavier, this is the natural sort of option. The other good thing about the bricks is it does make it an incremental system, which means although it goes up to 20 kgs, you can actually just take the bricks out and progressively add them back in, obviously depending on what your goals are. Hypothetically, if you're trying to work towards doing 10 pull-ups with a 20 kilo weighted vest on, rather than starting with lower reps, say 3 or 4 reps for sets with the full loaded vest, as you might do with the tactical vest, you can take some of the bricks out and just incrementally load them back in to give you that sort of progressive resistance. The drawback, I would say, of the incremental brick system versus the tactical vest is the bricks themselves. Obviously they're fairly chunky, there's quite a big diameter on that. So when you've got it on, if you're doing push-ups, it can limit your range of motion slightly. In some ways it's good, because it just means you bottom out, you hit the floor easier, but it does mean you're not going to get that full chest to floor, obviously depending on your height. But if you're using this vest, because you're slightly shorter stature, then there's every likelihood that your limb length is also a bit shorter, so you're going to lose a little bit of range on the push-ups, which is kind of where the tactical vest comes into its own. This is loaded up with these plates, one front, one back. These go up in sort of 4 or 5 kilo increments. So fully loaded, this vest is just shy of 10 kgs. You have got a little bit less play in terms of the increments. You can use smaller plates, but obviously these are 1 kilo increments, so you can go from an empty vest all the way up the ladder to 20 kgs. Whereas with this, you would primarily use this at one fixed weight, which is kind of normal inside a CrossFit community. So this is ideal for something like Murph, something like that. For an average sort of height athlete, you are going to get those full range push-ups, because obviously the plate, again, pretty thin. You can get all the way to the ground with that. It's also a lot more built up around the shoulders, which makes it more ideal for running. One thing I find with these plate carrier vests is the bigger plate sits a lot more comfortably across your diaphragm. They've all got a little bit of movement, they've all got a little bit of shift, which is fine for shorter workouts, but as soon as you get sort of over 400, 800 meters into mile-long runs, you can get this nice and tight. There's plenty of support and plenty of padding inside the vest, which makes it really ergonomic. It's really hugging, and this one big plate can't shift around too much versus the 18 increments you can get in this. Plus the shoulder straps are just a little bit more built up, which you're going to get much less chafe, that sort of thing. Again, it has got a longer torso, so if you are sort of below 5'5", you might find as you're hitting the bottom of your squats, the vest is kind of bottoming out into your legs, which is just something to be aware of. It doesn't mean you can't do, say, a workout like Murph, which has got a ton of air squats in. It just means that this might be the better option. There's every likelihood that actually the incremental vest is the better bet anyway, because it's going to allow you to start at a lower weight and work your way up to 10, 20 kgs, whereas with this you are kind of fixed into this standard 10 kg weight vest, which is perfect. It's perfect for most people to jump in straight at that level and go for it, but the incremental vest does offer you a little bit more flexibility from that point of view. And obviously beyond the considerations of stature, particularly for females, I kind of articulation that you get between these blocks is a little bit more ideal. It might be a little bit more form-fitting versus the more rigid plate, which doesn't give you much play. If you are leaning more towards calisthenics training, this vest is ideal. It allows you to weight up and down very quickly without having to remove a dip belt all the time. And it also ensures that the center of mass is centered around your actual body versus having a plate swinging from between your legs that you've got to kind of take on and off between sets. Whereas if I was going for more long form workouts involving running, higher repetition of press ups, squats, pull-ups, etc., more metabolically based than strict work, I'd probably lean more towards the tactical vest.